he supported very much the creation of this network at the OHB of young professionals. So as I said, don't feel shy, ask whatever you want to Fritz Merkle. Of course, Josh will curate the questions. But yeah, I hope you'll have some good time this afternoon. So Fritz, we have heard from Josh all your vice president, management board positions, but actually I'm sure it took a lot of effort, big professional development on your side to reach to that position. So when you finished your studies, which were your plans? Did you had in mind to become the board member of a company, or what did you want it to be when you finish your studies?
First of all, thank you very much, Josh. Thank you to SGAC for inviting me to this, let's call poolside talk. And it's summer, at least for the Northern Hemisphere. Also, I have no pool outside. Yeah. So as you can see from the color of my hair, I am already not anymore the youngest. So this year I will be 70. And so it's a long time back. And when I finished university, or when I finished school, it was in '69, in July. So just a day before Apollo 11, we received, or I received my Abitur, so the German, when you finish high school for going to the university. So in a way, it was an exciting moment to observe this as a young person. I was enthusiastic in school and also good grades in mathematics and physics. But nevertheless, in the beginning, I was not sure which way to go. So because I like photography already as a young person. So I thought I could become a photographer or an architect. But on the other side, looking a little bit more in a realistic way, I said maybe physics might be a good basis for whatever I do in the future. And so I decided to study physics, applied physics, and astronomy. And so I graduated from Heidelberg in applied physics, and then in physics and astronomy in my PhD. And after finishing university, I was not so sure in which direction to go, whether clearly I had not, let me say, a board position in focus. I was not so sure whether the academic life or the industrial career would be the right choice. So I had the chance to get, today one would call it assistant professorship at University of Heidelberg after my studies. And then I was invited to IBM Research, Almaden Research in San Jose, in California, where I spent 1.5 years there. And at the end, this made the decision even a little bit more difficult, because I got the smell of industrial research. And from the university, I had seen how an academic career potentially could be. And while I was still in the US, I got an invitation to apply for a position at ESO, the European Southern Observatory in Garching, Germany, with observatories in Chile. And so I went to interview, and at the end it was offered to me, because maybe also partially because I worked on adaptive optics, a technology to overcome basically the turbulence of atmosphere or to untwinkle stars from ground. That means to have observation capable with a performance you only get in space by correcting the atmosphere. So I was invited, and we had been a group of 4 people in the beginning, and we got the task from the astronomers: design a telescope 200 square meters of collecting light area and put it on the best place on Earth. And at this time, it could cost approximately 350 million euro in today's currency. And so we really started this with paper and pencil. It was in the beginning where we had been proud after 2 years to get our first laptop, or not even laptops, our first personal computers. At this time, we had to work on mainframe. Text writing was not as easy, and it was still a time where the computer screen was black with green characters on it. And this was fascinating, and 4 years later we got the project approved, we started it, and so I said, is it on a long run the right place to stay, because we had the project approved. Meanwhile, we had been a team of 60 people. We made a lot of industrial contracts and contacts, and so I was invited to an interview to CEST, to head their space technology division, which also was doing the astronomical activities, or telescope building, large optics, etc. And so I said, maybe it's changing from a more academic environment to an industrial, maybe it's the right choice for me. And still it was an industry which was very much research linked. So I was always fascinated in this technically first, not standard, etc. And it seems that to a large extent I have made my job right, because I was then promoted to division head, and then to vice president. And my really closer touch to space came already during the nearly 10 years at ESO in Garching, because the ESO is still the European coordination facility, or hosting the European coordination facility for the Hubble Space Telescope. And my first contact to the Hubble telescope was shortly after it was launched, so it was fascinating to see, but it only had fuzzy images. And so there was a task group installed, what could be the case, and how could one put glasses on the telescope in order that it sees sharp images. And so I was also actively participating in the European part of this task force. Yeah, and then sometime later, a solution was found how to correct the telescope, and it's fascinating. And still, I like to see the fascinating discoveries astronomers do with it, and now I look forward to the James Webb. So in a way, it was not really anticipating to get an industrial management position. I was always fascinating from the technical work. During then the time at ESO, at Carl Zeiss, I got in contact with OHB. At this time, OHB was a company, maybe 100 employees. And we heard from Marco in the videos that his mother created the company, his father then joined OHB later. And I have met him, I think it was in 1998, at the launch of a satellite from Kapustin Yar in Russia, which had X-ray telescopes on board, which had been produced or designed and manufactured in my division at SEIS. And so we got in contact. And some time later, he said, could you imagine to join our company? And this was not an easy moment for me, because I said, okay, I need some time to think about, because ZEISS is a well-established, at this time, more than 150-year-old company, and it's a foundation. So in a way, behind ZEISS is a foundation. So it's, let me say, a company where you know you will have a future, which has a lot of social securities, etc. And to join a company, OHB, which was, today one would say, a startup. Also, the terminology startup was not existing at this time. So I said, still in the 40s. So if I do a radical change in my professional life, it would have to be done now, because clearly going from a well-established company and a solid position to this type of company, also there is a risk, and clearly difficult to know whether it survives or not. At the end, I decided. I was employee 115 from Marco. We heard it's nearly 3,000 Europe-wide. And with the turnover, today a billion, at this time 25 million euro. And I decided to take this risk. Yeah. And so in a way, it was a step-wise decision to go in this direction. But the essence of it is, when you're at the beginning of your career, I think it's very important. That's for me, I would recommend is make sure what type of career you plan. Are you more the engineer or scientist, or more the manager? Because it's somewhere you cannot change this really. The worst thing what happens in industry is someone who is a manager, but who has not the skills or the way of managing, or a scientist, in particular, if this is a scientist in a managing position and he does not like it. So it has to be the right. Also a manager in a science environment, he will not be happy. So this finding out is not easy. Talk to people, get in contact, consult, having mentors in order to help you on this decision. It's very important. And maybe one can say it's easier to go from academia to industry than the reverse way.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's a very good message for our audience. Actually, take risk. That's one of the things I take from what you're saying. Especially right now that we are young, so we should not be afraid of making a jump in the career right now, or taking the risk to join a startup or believe on our ideas. But also, as I take from what you're saying, Fritz, is also surround yourself of a good team, that you bring exciting projects forward, and that you make them happen. Because of course, it's easy to say, I was hired and then I become division head, and then I become vice president. It's very easy to say, but of course, I guess there is a lot of work behind, and a lot of good performance behind that. So that's also important, of being the best you can at your job on every single position you have. So what would you say was the biggest challenge in your career with all these different positions and taking these risks you took, and until now you retired?
Okay, I think, it's difficult to say, but one challenge is how to bring, because such a position and in these activities, whether it was engineering at ISO, I was very often in Chile at La Sierra and later Paranal. I think it's a challenge is to bring these in coordination with your private life, also with your partner, whether if you're female, with your husband or your boyfriend, with your family, if you have children. This is a very important point, to give you this, in a way, freedom and peace behind, in order to focus on your professional career. Because you have to combine it, otherwise it will not work. For me, at least, I can say it from me, it was always this very important point, that I know there is someone behind me, even if things would fail. And in particular, this decision going to OHB at this time, and there was then shortly after even a moment, if something would have got wrong, OHB would have been bankrupt from one day to the other. We managed to do it, and but you have to know, because at this time we had 2 kids, we decided to build a house, yeah, with a signature, let me say, of building a house, let me say you have obligations. You have to be sure that you find ways to get it, that you also have a good partner and the right partner behind you. So that's, you know, my partner, Andrea. So.
Yes, actually, she's very supportive and has been
Yeah,
also joining all SGC events.
yeah.
I'm happy also to know her. That's a very good point you bring up, because at this age that we are young professionals starting our careers, and we have been told always to be very independent, right? Especially in my case, women to be independent, and it
Mhm.
seems that sometimes we are in contradiction with our private life indeed. So that's a very good advice that I take, and I would like also our audience to remember,
Mhm.
because indeed it makes a big difference if you have a strong support and you build strong relationships on your private life that support you and allow you to be the best on your professional life. So thanks for bringing this up, Fritz. um, and then I would say I want to ask you, that was one of the biggest challenge. So now what was your the accomplishment that you are most proud of? And you cannot say your kids, okay?
Yeah, no, no, no. So I wanted, uh, I think it was something recognized only a year ago.
Okay.
It goes back to the time at ESO. I mentioned that we had got the task to design this telescope somewhere in the Atacama Desert. And at the end, our concept, the 200 square meter, came out to be 4 telescopes sitting next to each other, so not on a straight line, but distributed on a mountain plateau, approximately the maximum distance 200 meters.
Mhm.
And the idea was to combine these telescopes in a way that it corresponds to a 200 meter or 150 meter telescope, this combination. So from my physics background, first formula, very easy. You just put these in an interferometric coupling. That means the telescopes has to be phase matched. But
Mhm.
what does it mean? You need working adaptive optics for each of these telescopes to correct the turbulence of the atmosphere. And then you have to combine the light of the telescopes to roughly 1/10 of a micron precisely over 200 meters. So what you do as a physicist, you say you need optical delay lines, easy retroreflectors, you put it. But to bring this then and to combine the light of the 4 telescopes properly in a way, it was accomplished then and worked first time last year. So it took more than 25 years in a way to set this up for even generation of engineers. But then I got one of my early papers with a French astronomer, Pierre Lénard. Someone from Max Planck Institute sent me this paper and said, that's now it worked. We have the first image of the black hole, or it's the closest orbit around the black hole in the center of our galaxy, imaged with this telescope. So the experiment is called gravity, and so there is a cloud basically circulating with 1/3 of the light speed around this black hole, and also from theory, physics theory, it's the closest possible orbit. So in a way, Einstein was demonstrated, and I'm quite proud that at least my early even hand sketches in one publication, we had pencil drawings of the arrangement that these now is working. It's extremely complex, and it takes days to generate a picture, but it works. So in a way, this made me extremely proud when I got this information and they sent me the picture, and even digged out an old black and white photo with my colleagues and the time when I had black hairs, long curly black hairs, and wearing these broad ties at this time in the mid 80s.
No, congratulations for it.
Yeah.
It was like indeed an accomplishment. And the message here, I would say, for us is like, well, maybe our biggest accomplishment might come when we are retired, right? So
Exactly.
we should not think
So
that we have done everything already in the past, but there is a lot to be proud of in the future.
exactly. So in a way, one has to be patient. Let me say clearly, if you have a startup, you need really that business is functioning within a short period, because your people giving you money want to have results, want to see progress. But in a way, make yourself a plan. What is a short-term goal? What is midterm? What long-term? And not to put things which may take longer on a too short time scale, because this may, at the end, bring you in a problem. And so in a way, learn also sometimes to be patient.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's very
To be
important.
eager and patient at the same time.
Okay, it's indeed very important. Sometimes, and nowadays we're not very used to be patient. We have everything on our hands at any minute, so we indeed have to train our patience. So now I would like to pass the ball to Josh. So Josh, are there any questions from the audience for Fritz?
Yes, Andrea, there's quite a few filling up. There's one of them that I think kind of touches on the sort of journey you were describing at the start, Fritz, on your background in astronomy and looking at space. The message reads, "Hello, I am Parul from India. Your story is really fascinating and inspiring. I'm also pursuing a PhD in astronomy, though mostly dealing with radio data analysis. Could you give me some advice on moving to the industry and where a person like me can apply?"
Astronomers in industry, let me say, there are rare places, but companies working in space projects and there are a few exciting, huge astronomical projects coming up, like LISA, like Athena, but also medium-sized missions. And but on the other hand, it's not too easy, but space companies always have some astronomers for this, because in order to do a science mission properly, you have to know, to understand what really the science community need. And I think that's partially not too easy, even for a physicist. Is sometimes not too easy to understand why astronomers want to have certain things. So in a way, it helps, but that might be even a first more practical step, because in astronomy, there's a lot of data analysis. So it depends really the direction. So it's a lot of methods are linked to artificial intelligence, to big data processing. So methods can be applied to Earth observation, huge data reduction. So in a way, one has to explore it, but to be an industry astronomer is a hard choice. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Okay.
Just if there's another question from the audience, we can take another.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay. So this one's gotten quite a few likes. Hi, as a fresh graduate, I feel it's important to have someone who can guide you throughout your professional journey. What tips would you share to find a mentor?
It's not too easy. I think to find a mentor, a good way is to have the chance, even as a young expert professional, to go to conferences. So in a way, I had quite a number of contacts at IAC meetings or conferences where I was asked whether I could give some advice, mentoring. So in a way, looking around at these places, it is a possibility, because also if you have someone as a mentor, you have to know there is some empathy, so you feel well in his, close to him, to this person, because otherwise if it is only let me say textbook like recommendations, it will not help too much. So it has to be someone who in a way also fascinates me. And I've even had the feeling during my career, also I would not say it was a mentor, but I had person which I said I look closer how they do things, how they decide, for example, and in particular Marco Fuchs' father, Manfred, was such a person, and we understood each other very well. But as soon as I had responsibility at the company, we also had terrible fights. But this is a point. You have to know you can trust someone. Then you also can have different opinion, fight, and still remain friends. So this is a positive. So even a fight has a positive effect on what you are doing. So look around, but in a way, there are sometimes events at universities where one looks for mentoring in the transition from university to industry or to academia. But I think in particular conferences and exhibitions where you get in contact with people and you can taste them in their, let me say, in this environment and test them may be helpful.
Thanks.
So what SJC is doing is an excellent platform, like on the Space Symposium. Hopefully it can be take place next year in the same way. So at the moment, with this, let me say, social distancing, I think it's even much more difficult, because to find a mentor via the screen, like we do it at the moment, is a possibility, but I think much better is in order to do it, to feel well with it, I think you have to see this person face to face.
Yeah. Thanks for this, Mark. Yeah. So actually, following up on this question, because I felt some of I had some mentors during the career, and actually I have to say, Fritz, I feel like you are one of those mentors that I had and I still have, and even a sponsor, I would say. But sometimes I feel shy to contact you or to contact those mentors I had also at university, because I feel like, oh, these people is so important. They have so much stuff, much more important to do than talking to me. So sometimes I lack this facility to open and to contact these potential mentors or these mentors that I had. So do you think it's okay that when young professionals want to talk to you over the phone, they want to schedule a meeting with you, is it okay? Is it something that these seniors, these mentors really enjoy, or they are bothered, like, because, oh, again, there's this young person that wants to talk to me? So how is the best for us to approach to you, but also not to interfere much on your day-to-day schedule, because you are busy people as well?
Yeah.
How to find
I think, but the best way and the right way is try it, approach it. Many people I know and mentors, they like to do it, they like to be approached. And but they do not say it openly, they don't invite. But when they are approached, they feel well with it. So it is also for me, if someone asks me, and this, in a way, it makes me proud, because in two ways. So it looks like it's not so stupid what I'm doing. So someone trusts that I could help. could help him. And on the other hand, also, whatever I do, in a way, has only a long time value when I transfer it, when I give it to someone. Whatever I take with me in the grave is lost for all. So in a way, I think many people are open. Clearly, also, you may be rejected by someone. Maybe you just approach him in the wrong moment. Try it again. Maybe a little bit time with an appropriate email explaining. But therefore, I think conferences, the IAC meetings, many others are there. It's easier because in a way, these people are at this moment out of their let me say, day-to-day responsibility. They may be nervous about the next presentation or panels they have to go, but then say, maybe in 2 hours we can see, or but really approach these people. And I think the right ones will tell you, not at the moment, but a little bit later, or yes. And if someone permanently resists, maybe not even the right person.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Because not everybody has this skills, this empathy to, in a way, to give good mentoring.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah. So now we've been talking a bit about the past, your career, and just a question about the future. So you mentioned about when you started the career, like you were just getting your laptop, or not laptop, your desktop, or desk computers for the first time almost. So now the space sector is very different, and we are talking now more and more about commercialization of space. And in fact, the OHB workshop tackles this question. So how would you say the commercialization of space will develop, and how us as young professionals and students that will live into this new commercial space need to do now to make sure we create a sustainable market and there is this new customers excited to join the space sector? So how do you see this commercialization of the space? Will it happen? Will not happen?
I think it will definitely happen. Space is, or space industry and space activities are really becoming a mature activity. When I said my first contact with space in '69 with Apollo, or a little bit before, it was space was something exciting, far away from daily life. Also at this time, clearly it had not really a meaning for the society. It was political endeavor, maybe demonstration of technology. So, and then even in the last century or last millennium, even the space was still something excited, but not really clear that it will help mankind. And there is more and more now the political opinion, societal opinion. Space is extremely important for all of us. Let me say the first one, maybe in a society who discovered this, was the military, which is part of our society, but now it gets into environmental protection. It is a mean for migration relief. It has so many areas. I think space is more and more considered as a crucial element for mankind's future. And so from this, I'm quite convinced it will come the commercial, and it will be commercial. Because clearly in the beginning, it could only be done by governmental funding. Still today, most of it is governmental taxpayers' money. But step by step, it will change. In telecom, we already have it. Earth observation is the next step. Clearly, there will be like space science activities, like at OHB. OHB is doing Plato. Clearly, this has not really for the next generations on our planet Earth commercial meaning, but a lot of technology spin-off may come from this. So, but there are other space program, Earth observation satellites. These are activities becoming, and like small launchers, a commodity. So an industrial element. So we are now at a turning moment, and I think it's exciting and gives in particular now the next gen, the young professionals, I think really a bright future. Clearly there are momentary things, let me say, ups and downs. Nobody knows how the corona pandemic now has effect at the moment, not on space industry. But when we follow what's going on in Europe now with the 750 billion the EU tries to spend in supporting the European economy, clearly one day this money has to be saved. And clearly not at the moment, because space programs are under contract, so they cannot be cut. But the question is, are the budgets in 2, 3 years or 4 years still available in the way we expected, the steady growth? Maybe not, but nevertheless, I think it will not give a turn back, because I think even in many areas, it will seem the future or space is an important element for future economy. And so I have confidence, and also in discussion with some people, that this will not lead to a problem, rather than on a medium term to an advantage also for 1 or 2 years or whatever. And for one person or the other, it may be not as easy as it was envisaged by him or in his personal planning. But I'm quite sure space will be, it's a crucial element also for future mobility, for green Earth. Yeah. And that means it has, for me, it's a far better choice than becoming an automobile engineer at the moment.
No, thanks. So that's for sure. We need to then have a closer look into the commercial business there. Exactly. So, Josh, do we have a question from the audience? Maybe one short one.
Yes. Yeah. There's quite a few more questions now. Picking out I guess a short one. You previously said it's possible to go from academia to industry. How do you sell your competences for such a transition?
Usually when you had been in academia, you have a solid background. That means you have the knowledge, you have the understanding. Often you do simulation. Also, it's the analytic way of working. So in the academic world, basically you have a problem in physics, in chemistry, in electrical engineering, in mechanics, material science. You learned how to approach critical problems. So you have not on the specific detail whether someone may be interested in a special alloy and space industry you worked on. Is a method how you worked on this problem. Or if you are in mathematical or computer science, the way you do simulations, the way you you approach complex data problems, you transfer. So it's not the specific problem you work on, it's a methodology, how you work, and your solid background. And that's something industry looks for. There are often positions where this type of background is needed. It is positive also if you worked in a team. Not only, let me say, demonstrated that you are, let me say, in the lonely guy working on a mathematical problem and nobody was interested in, but you solved it in order to get your PhD. It is really showing how you solved these problems together with your team in the institute environment and in your working environment. And that you are, as I said, and I have to repeat it, it's the methodology on solving problems.
Yeah, thanks. Actually, just to add on that, I know at OHB, for example, many times they ask for people that work in academia. Actually, it's one of the requirements there. So don't be scared to jump into industry. That's for sure. So I know, Fritz, you are a bit tight on your time. So just quick questions with quick answers.
We have 3 minutes left.
What is your favorite planet?
My favorite planet, I think it's Venus.
Okay. Yeah. If you could invite a famous...
Also hostile planet, but I think nevertheless it is. Yeah.
If you could invite a famous person for dinner, who would it be? Or many.
Yeah, that's quite a difficult question. Now I say I invite you because you.
You're the famous face, but I take the invite.
Yeah. Just a second. I think, but maybe just I had once a dinner with Buzz Aldrin, which was great. Also, he is a difficult guy, so it was not too easy, but I enjoyed it very much. And I think I would be curious to have a dinner with Vladimir Putin.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Okay,
yes. Yeah. And what do you want to be remembered for? If you could choose one thing.
I think it's now, since 1 year, the gravity experiment of ISO. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. So thank you for it. And now your final advice for the young professionals and students that are here in your audience, for them to be able to accomplish their dreams and to follow their dreams career, what would you say? And then we'll leave it here.
Yeah, it is such a fascinating area base with all the facets from astronomy over Earth observation to rockets with this enormous energy and power. So there are so fascinating facets, and stay patient, work on it, and I think really you will have a great future. So I think it was the right choice to go in space technology.
Great message there. Thank you very much, Fritz, for joining us. It's getting hot now here with our fireside chat. Yeah. It's time to jump on the pool. And thank you, everybody who was here. And also thanks, Josh. I pass it to you for the final.
Also thanks from my side to Josh and the whole SGAC team. Continue your work as you do it. It's great. It's important for the society. It's great for the important for the future of space technology. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you both, Dr. Merkle and Andrea, for a wonderful talk. I mean, speaking from my side, I know how challenging it is in the space arena. So it's really nice to hear these inspiring words. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. I understand this is the last keynote for today, but we look forward, I guess, to what tomorrow has in store. And thanks again to both of you, and thanks to OHB for having this wonderful talk.
Okay, bye-bye.
Have a good rest of the week. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Ciao, Andrea.
Ciao, Fritz. Thank you very much.